What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode number 34 of the HMA Fantasy Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Hughley, and I am joined today by three wise men in the wrestling community. Let's go through the list. To my left, we have Mr. Tony Rotundo. How you doing, Tony?
I'm doing well, thank you.
All right. I see the Stanford jacket on. Rest in peace.
Nah, let's not. We're not on the ground yet, but we can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll get into that for sure. But right below him, Mr. Jack Mueller. How you doing today, Jack?
Doing great. Sore. Training hard.
Got to get back into the training hard, I guess. They're probably already training, but maybe a little bit harder now.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would happen last week. So past week has been pretty tough on the body. Really sore.
Yeah. Well, you told us last episode that you don't step on the scale until you feel all 6 abs. So are we on the scale yet?
Oh, yeah.
Or are you still fat?
Yeah. No, I was 138 yesterday. So
very cool.
We're back into shape.
Awesome. And to his right, I don't know if this is how everybody sees it or not, but at least in my mind, Earl Smith from the Open Mat. How you doing today, Earl?
Doing great. Ready to talk some wrestling, and excited about this news we're going to talk about with Jack and everything else.
For sure, I'm jacked. I mean, I'm so excited for this match. I'm so excited. This is really the one I wanted to see, so I'm glad that it all worked out. But
oh yeah,
let's just jump into talking about that first. Start off with the happy news and progressively get depressed. But yeah, so it is officially announced by Flow that they added a match to the July 25th card. That's going to be our man Jack Mueller versus RBY over at Penn State, Roman Bravo Young. Dude, I'm so excited.
Yeah, dude.
What do you got to say about it?
I mean, it's going to be a lot. I feel like every time RBY wrestles, I mean, it's a lot of action, a lot of movement, and I kind of like that. You know, it plays into my game pretty well. So I think it'll be fun. I know he's not super big either, so weight's not going to be an issue. I don't know. You know, I think that we've got similar like best wins. Like he's beaten DeSanto, I've beaten DeSanto. You know, we've had similar matches, and he's got a very good folk style game. I wonder how it translates into freestyle. I know last summer it wasn't like an ideal season for him, so I think he didn't make the junior team. But I mean, he's brings the fireworks, he brings the action. So I'm really excited to wrestle him. I think it'll be fun.
I'm wondering how much freestyle he typically trains, and like last summer, do you think he was training a lot of freestyle or just kind of like jumped into it after folk style? Just, you know, he's done it before, obviously. Why not try?
Well, from like my experience in college, it's like, yeah, you take a couple weeks off after NCAAs and then it's freestyle. And then after the trials and stuff, then it's back to folk style. At least that's for me. So I'd assume he's doing something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a full-time thing, obviously.
For sure. No, I'm excited. Yeah. I mean, this matchup, because me and Jack were kind of talking about it, and like, you know, obviously we kind of talked about it on Twitter and got it out there and like thought how it would be an awesome matchup. But, you know, RBY is in college, and so we had to get through all the compliance issues and like definitely some times where we thought it wasn't going to happen. And so we thought about other matchups, but I'm so happy that it ended up being this one, because this one's just going to be, like you said, it's going to be fireworks. And some of those other matchups, I was like I would love to see you wrestle Gilman. I'd love to see you wrestle Tomasello, all those guys, but they're kind of more like controlled, like slower pace matches. Whereas I think you and RBY is just going to be wild. So
yeah, no doubt. I mean, 3 nights ago or something like that, 3 or 4 nights ago, I didn't think it was going to happen. And Mike Mal like DM'd me and was like, hey, you want to wrestle Pletcher? And I was like, sure. Like I'm like 40 right now, but I'll wrestle Pletcher if y'all want me to, because they just knew I wanted to wrestle. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been a lot of weight to give up for sure. But I think RBY, he's a competitor, and I mean, he's pretty pumped about it. I'm pretty pumped about it. That's gonna make for some good action. I don't want to sit there and just stand in the middle. So let's make it happen.
So watch out for the backflips.
Oh
They're
yeah.
coming. What about you, Tony? What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's a great matchup. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm planning to be there
Heck yeah.
to shoot it. Yeah. It's going to be a great one.
I'm going to have to intercept you at the airport and hide in your bag and make it over there.
Well, yeah, just, I carry a lot of gear, so it'll be fine. Nobody. Yeah, they're it's going to be pretty tight scene. It sounds like. I don't think there's going to be and hopefully it happens. I mean, fingers, toes crossed on that one.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
I think if it doesn't happen, this weekend in this venue, it won't change my mind that I want to do it.
Yeah.
If they find a better place that's more calm, heck, freaking fly me out to Alaska. I'll do it there. I don't care. Just get me on the mat. Let me compete.
We'll just find an alley somewhere. Put a mat down. There we go. What about you, Earl? What do you think about it?
Yeah,
How badly is Jack going to lose? It's the real question.
I was going to go through betting odds with you, but we'll wait for another time. Really, I think this has the potential to be actually the most action-paced match of the card thus far. Like Dake and Shimizu, that's a great matchup. It's going to have some great flurries, but I don't know if it's going to be 6 minutes of continuous action. Based on both of their styles. Downey Taylor seems a little lopsided. I think this could be 6 minutes of fun. So yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Who knows though? Last time I was telling Jack the other day, last time I watched him in a freestyle match, beat the streets, I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be a fun match. Him pitching I'm excited to watch this. And then he teched him in no time. So who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, usually I just get a good knack. If I'm in shape for freestyle, it's pretty dangerous. Sometimes I'm not in shape. Like the trials last year, I wasn't in shape. I lost 20 pounds in a week. Made the weight. Wrestled Zane Richards, won that match, puked 6 or 7 times afterwards, and then wrestled Darian, and it was terrible match for me. I lost the edge, lost the battle on the edge a few times. So
I think we got to make some kind of bet. You don't tech him, then you got to admit on live TV that I'm a better wrestler than you, or something like that.
We'll see.
But yeah, no, I'm stoked about it. It's gonna be awesome. And we have other news, from the wrestling community. Not as much fun, obviously. First one, I guess, will progressively get worse. The first one is the Ivy League calling it off for sports for the fall semester. So there will be no Ivy League sports before Christmas this year for sure. So what are we feeling about that? Do we think that maybe kickstarts NCAA talks into moving wrestling to second semester sport, or are Ivy just screwed? Are we not wrestling? What do you guys think?
I talked to Garland about it. I don't know, when I was still there in Virginia, and he was talking about how they were already thinking about making it a spring sport. So they were talking with the NWCA and being like, hey, let's just make it spring. Let's just push it back a couple months and make it spring, because right now, there's no way that there's any matches in fall. It's not getting any better. If anything, it's getting worse. People are freaking out. I think that people are taking more precautions, which is a good thing. I think people are okay, this is serious. Let's wear a mask. Let's stay 6 feet apart. Let's stay at home when we can. Sort of thing. So I think it will get better, but right now, I mean, we're kind of, I don't know. I feel like we've been at the peak for months now, so who knows?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. Tony, what are your thoughts on it?
What I heard was January 1st would be the air quote start. So that I see wrestling being pushed in the best case scenario with this. You know, they're allowed to practice from what I read. So, you know, if it's a competition after January 1st, I think that could actually work. I'm in favor of moving it to a spring sport, and this could be the catalyst for that. It's certainly going to give us a feel for it. Now, you know, it's a shortened season, obviously, a truncated season, because, you know, we're going to miss the tournaments, like we'll miss CKLV and that sort of thing, but and the duels that happened before January 1st. But I think that from my, you know, view of it, and I'm kind of with Jack, starting January 1st, the fact that we do go over 2 semesters, that's kind of a best case scenario. You know?
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Earl?
Yeah, I mean, this whole moving to the spring semester, this is something that people have kind of talked about for a while, and it's probably in the best interest of our athletes to do that. If this is the push that gets us there, you know, as far as there are no other negative repercussions, then, you know, I'm good with it. If some of the other bigger conferences start doing this because of football, then, you know, there could be some negative stuff down the line. But if this is just how it is right here, that's all, you know, I think it could end up being a net positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm terrified if there's no football. There's no football, like there's no funding for sports at all, because basketball can't pick up that slack. Most basketball teams are in the red. Like if they're in the green, it's barely in the green, or they're like a UVA who's really good at basketball, but we're still not making anywhere near as much money in basketball as we are in football. No, football is dangerous for the sport of wrestling. We've got to push for football. But like when I was competing, 5 months in this, like one season for 5 months was a long time, plus 2 months of preseason. We were starting in September, the like second week of school, and then we were ending in March. It's a long time. It's hard on the body. It's hard on the mind. Cutting weight during winter or fall finals is pretty tough. Missing weeks of school to go out to Las Vegas or NCAA. It's pretty brutal. It's like last year we went to Vegas. We missed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then the next week we started finals on Tuesday. So it was like we were gone Wednesday through Sunday. Monday we studied, Tuesday finals started. Needless to say, I did terrible on those finals, but you know, like move it so we're only dealing with one semester of work, so athletes can front load their classes, because it's difficult when you can't manage like your tough classes into a good semester. I don't know, just the thought.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, obviously you guys are talking about, you know, college, and you have a lot of experience in that college system and how all that works. I'm for moving it to a second sport in high school, or a second semester sport in high school as well. This will be my 6th year coaching high school wrestling, and it would just be so much easier on everybody, man. Like, you know, for the majority of the time, wrestlers are generally good students, right? So you generally don't have to worry about their grades, but you definitely have kids every year that you're kind of like halfway through the season, right? Really getting into crunch time, and getting into shape, and making sure that we're, you know, doing everything right. And then they're on vacation for like 2 or 3 weeks. And so they go home and get fat or whatever. And they also have finals and all those kind of things. And you're like, I go from coach for like a month to like chasing you around, babysitter, making sure you're passing all your classes. you know, and then like it's insane. It's like when I'm supposed to like really be crunching down, like, you know, getting into the nitty gritty of things, I'm making sure that Johnny's passing, you know, science or whatever. And I think it would just be all around better if it was a second semester sport. You know, I'm still gonna be on my guys and make sure they're passing their classes and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, like I said, wrestlers you generally don't worry that much about with academics. And, you know, it'd be one thing if I'm chasing them around in the preseason versus, you know, halfway through the year. And
Yeah, you've already
Yeah.
got a month's competition under your belt, and then they hit winter break.
dude,
Let the kids have fun, man. Let them be kids. I'd say make it a spring sport. Make it start in February and end in April or May.
Heck yeah.
I think that would be good. Good for everyone because I mean, wrestling's hard, especially when you start at a young age. That's why we have so much burnout. It's like, oh yeah, you can't eat Thanksgiving because you have a tournament tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm like
no.
7 or 8 years old. Like let me be a kid. Let me have fun. Let me it's just a thought. I mean, I started wrestling when I was 3, so I haven't really had a Thanksgiving ever. The only time I can remember having a Thanksgiving was when I was redshirting, and then I got my red shirt pulled 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, and I was really regretting it.
So is there the story of why you wrestled 133?
No, I went 25.
You went 25 that year.
I was weighing like
Oh, yeah, you're right.
152, and I was like, I'll wrestle if you'll need me. And Louis couldn't make weight, and so I was like, I'll go 25. Like I want to. I was gonna do it next year, anyways. Like if you need me, I'll make the weight. So I lost like 27 pounds, made it, and then never looked back. I don't think I've ever been that heavy again.
Jack Mueller, the ultimate team man.
No, I'm not trying to weird brag it. I'm just saying that's how big I was because I wanted to have a Thanksgiving for once in my life.
Oh, you're good. You're good,
No,
man.
it's fine. It's fine.
All right.
Like you had 2 or 3 Thanksgivings.
Yeah, dude. I still have a picture of the plate. I'll have to send it to y'all after. I'll put it on Twitter.
Like a
Maybe
string.
after the match. I don't want to give RBY the mental edge. Oh, he's eating that.
All right. No, the only other thing we got to talk about before we jump into our actual match is Stanford. Oh man, Tony, you want to start us off? You're wearing the gear up there.
Yeah, so Stanford yesterday announced that they're going to drop 11 sports programs. Now they carry some of the highest number of sports programs outside of Harvard, who carries, I think, 40 sports. They carry something like 36 or 37. Now, some of those sports are almost kind of club sports now because they don't have, like 6 of them don't actually have NCAA affiliation, right? So, you know, it's a bummer for them, but they're going to have a harder road to try to come back. If any of the sports can come back, I think the ones that aren't officially NCAA sports, they're going to struggle. Now, wrestling, obviously NCAA sport, has a strong tradition at Stanford. I spent a lot of time yesterday trying to look up when they actually started their wrestling program. I've seen photos of, you know, it looks like the early turn of the century. So let's call it maybe 1920 kind of thing. So it's been there a long time. It is a shock that they dropped wrestling. You know, for me, I want to get T-shirts made that are just like ellipsis, you know, and wrestling, because it just sucks to read that list. It sucks to read any list of sports that are getting dropped, but to read this list and have to go and be like, oh, you know, sweet God, don't include wrestling. And then, you know, it's like men and women sailing and this stuff. And then of course it's and wrestling, and your heart just sinks, right? Because you know, it's a great school. It produces incredibly talented student athletes. They're on the rise. You know, they just, you know, Jason Borelli and staff are just fully invested. It's just a tragic loss. And then, of course, everybody's bringing up the endowments, and I think there are actually 2. There's a university endowment of $27 billion, and then there's an athletics endowment. I'm not sure the numbers on the athletics endowment. Now, people need to understand that if you have a $27 billion endowment, yes, you have a lot of money in your coffers, but you can't just allocate that any way you want. There are rules in terms of how these endowments work, and they're actually a collection of smaller donations. So like, let's say my wife and I donate $200,000, we might dictate where we want that to go. We want that to go to athletics, or we want it to go to the chemistry department or whatever. And so you know, it's not quite as simple. And granted, you know, it's, you know, so their athletics, they're trying to save 25 million a year. So if you have 27 billion and you're trying to save 25 million, you know, you probably could find that money. You know what I mean? So I think that's going to be their case, at least for wrestling, is just like, don't just throw us in with some of these other sports that aren't affiliated with the NCAA. Like, just, you know, we're a $1 million sport. Like you can find that in your 27 billion. But it's not, as just so people realize, like, it's not like they have a savings account of $27 billion and then they can just withdraw from that however they want. It doesn't work that way, unfortunately. The endowment it's in perpetuity, so it needs to be generating money, you know, through however they've invested it forever. And those are kind of the rules. And so it's giving scholarships, it's, you know, it's going to a lot of things at the university, not just athletics. So it is a lot of money, though, a lot more money than a lot of schools are operating with. So, you know, just to give some perspective, like, they can't just pull it out. They don't go and use an ATM card and just pull it out and say, okay, here, you take this money, you take that money. It's like, there are rules around how they can spend it, and they can't just spend it all, though they could come up with a little bit of cash to keep this program going, I'm sure.
Yeah. So this is what the sports were that got dropped. And I'm pretty sure only one other one is sponsored by the NCAA. Men and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing, co-ed and women's sailing, squash, synchronized swimming, men's volleyball, and wrestling. And I'm pretty sure the only other one that's NCAA affiliated is field hockey.
Well,
like,
men's volleyball was in the national championship a couple years ago.
yeah, but like, if you go to the NCAA website, are you going to be able to look up like news on men's volleyball? I don't think so. I mean, these sports, they take a lot of money to compete in. Like, how much gear do you need for men and women's fencing? Probably a lot. Rowing, you need a boat, you need oars, you need a boathouse, you need stuff to keep the boats looking good, whatever. Sailing, you need a sailboat for that, right? Like, squash, you need like so much money. Wrestling, so you just need shoes. You just need wrestling shoes and a singlet. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous that they threw in wrestling with that. Like, you're not going to get any, like, comparatively, you're not going to get any money compared to what you're going to get when you cut sailing. Like, oh, we can get rid of all this equipment. Yeah, we can make some money off that. Oh, we don't need to buy any more of this. Like, yeah, we're going to make a lot of money. Like, it's just so ridiculous that they threw it in there. It's almost like they just wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, there were more reasons in terms of participation, youth participation. I mean, they did their homework, as you can imagine, at Stanford.
Yeah.
But I think all of those arguments, I think Jason and the you know, Ray Blake, the coaches there, will sit down. You know, Jason put out a very well-tempered note to the community that basically they're going to listen, they're going to, you know, create a plan, and they're going to execute a plan in terms of trying to get the sport back. I'm sure they're going to go and reason with folks. Whether or not they succeed, I'm not sure, but you know, we're all hoping they do. And for me personally, so I live in San Francisco. This is the closest D1 school to me. It's about 40 minutes away. if they drop their program, then the next closest would be Fresno, which is 4 hours away, 3.5. Fresno State. And then Cal Poly, and then you're looking at like Oregon State. So you're looking at a flight. So for me, I'm like, this is kind of crushing because it was the closest for me to see some other Division I teams stuff. So it hits home.
Yeah, and then they have 3 ranked guys, 2 that are unreal, Real Woods and Shane Griffith. Both have promising careers ahead of them. Seth, I wish Seth was on because he's real high on Real Woods, and he's like trained with him, and he likes him a lot. And he's been saying like, hey, this guy is going to be a sleeper. This guy's going to be really freaking good. Shane Griffith was undefeated going into nationals last year. I would have loved to see him compete.
Jaden
Abbas is coming up. Yeah, I forgot. Like Queer Vandermeer, very tough, top 15 guy. I mean, they were good.
Yeah.
So I have a question. What do you guys think they're going to do? Because they said that they were planning to drop the program after the season, right? So let's say that whatever happens, let's say we get through a season of some sort this year, right? If you're a guy like, especially the top guys, Shane Griffith, Real Woods, man, like all those guys that are expected to compete for titles or like high level AA finishes, are you wanting to get out now and spend the rest of your career somewhere else, or are you wanting to stay and then look at your options after this year?
I would guess they would want to stay and see what happens and explore your options. And this isn't some low level functioning academic institution. These guys are at Stanford for a reason. So if I'm sure ideally they're going to want to get a Stanford degree, as well as doing what they're going to do wrestling wise. So I would guess they kind of wait it out and see what happens, but who knows?
Imagine the look if, let's say, the NCAAs happen, and let's say 1 or 2 of them win the NCAAs. I mean, imagine if 2 of them won. Imagine if Stanford, this is the thing. This is going to come down to coaching. This is, because it's coaching for life, right? And so, imagine if they broke the top 5. I'm not sure if they could do that, but like, what would be really great is to
even top 10.
Yeah. I mean, it would be, yeah. So let's say they broke top 10. That's one way that it would go a long way. And I'm sure, and it would make the institution look terrible, right, to be dropping a sport where you have national champions in it. So hopefully that Jason and team can keep everybody calm and focused through the season as they prepare kind of their defense of this.
I can see it both ways, and I guess I'm kind of playing devil's advocate a little bit, but like you guys are saying, and that probably would be more of my mentality of like, these are the guys I picked. Like, I'm going to stick with them. I'm going to train my butt off. I'm going to try to win a national title and change everybody's views on this. And maybe, we're still around and they keep the program. They decided to change their decision. I can also see the other side though. Like, especially if you're a guy like Real Woods or Shane Griffith, where you're only 1 year in, like, okay, well, if I'm going to have to leave, then picking, finding the place that you're going to have to go to, right? Because let's say that nothing changes and they get rid of it. Like, they're going to leave. They're going to go somewhere else. So find that place where you're going to go. And then, I mean, I can also see just go start, because I'm going to be there, basically my whole career if I leave now. I mean, I can see both ways. I don't know. I guess it just depends. Depends on the person.
Yeah.
But yeah. So do you guys want to talk any more about that? Maybe where you think, we forgot to talk about one thing. Let's get back off this depressing topic. Jack was gonna drop a guess on something, so I'll let him go.
All right. So I don't know. I'm nervous that I'm gonna jinx it. I won't jinx it. I'll give y'all a hint. He's got a really, really nice lefty headlock, and he hits it against Iowa guys.
Hold up. What are we talking about for the people that are listening?
Who is going to wrestle Luke Pletcher July 25th in Austin, Texas?
Okay.
He's a guy who has a nice lefty headlock against Iowa guys. And he hasn't been in wrestling in a while.
Hasn't been wrestling in a while. You got to give me just a little bit more.
This one would really hurt you, Jacob, I think.
I'm sure it would.
It's pre-Jacob, because Jacob was a fan in what, 2010? Yeah, just before your time.
So you're trying to bring back a guy from
like right before.
Oh, 7, 8, 9.
I know who you're talking about. I know. Look at your shirt, Jacob.
Okay. I would love to see that. I'd love to see. So if you're watching, perks of watching. Back.
Thanks for watching.
I wore the shirt for Jack just so I could show him that I have ACC shirts, but he still hasn't sent me a Virginia shirt.
Dude,
So,
I like. What size are you? I'll try and get one.
large.
Got you.
Very large man. Just kidding. I'm not. I'm 5'8" on a good day. But yeah, let's go ahead and get in this thing, man. What are we, like 30 minutes in?
Name or you're not gonna? That's what you're.
That's
gonna
the hint, Tony. If you don't got it, you don't got it. You took it. I'm sure you've taken a lot of pictures of him.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I have, but
I'll put it out there.
Come on,
I'll say it.
NC State, 2009 NCAA champ, 149.
Oh yeah! Wow, the Slayer of Iowa. Wow, yeah. Somebody alluded to that, and I'm like, really?
He commented on their Instagram.
That must have been it. Yeah.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I could also see a certain Penn State guy that might have met him in the finals. I can also see that going down since they already have the inside track with the Penn State and compliance and everything right now. I think that'd be my other guess is maybe Nick Lee.
Nick Lee, Joey McKenna. Those would be like Joey McKenna would be really fun.
I was thinking since Flo tends to like Etchemendia, they would maybe try to.
That would be fun. Get that guy a competition. Everyone wants to see him wrestle against some good competition.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Can you imagine if they had Etchemendia wrestle and he comes out and just puts the smackdown on Pletcher?
That'd be wild.
Imagine what people would be like. My head would explode. Like I already think the dude's awesome.
Yeah, he's got a lot of hype.
Yeah.
You think it'll live up to it?
I don't know. It's a lot of hype. Like it'd be disappointing if he didn't win at least 2 NCAA titles.
For sure.
And if he doesn't come out and give Yanni a heck of a match right away. Like that sort of thing. Like I don't know. That's a lot of hype to live up to. It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna lose Jack in not too long because certain ex-Virginia Cavaliers have to go and train in order to wrestle matches here in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, sir.
So with the interest of time, let's go ahead and get into our duel that we're supposed to do today. And we'll just take a real quick look back what happened last episode. If you weren't tuned in with us, you can always go check it out. That's episode number 33 of the HMA Fantasy Wrestling Podcast on all platforms, podcasting platforms, including Apple. But the last semifinal, the number 4 seed took out the number 1 seed and just an absolute beatdown. 2018 won over 2005, 22-9. Just kicked the crap out of them. There might have been some collusion on the part of one Seth Gross because he's in that team, or on that team. But the other semifinal, we're about to get into 2013, which is the 2 seed versus the 14 seed 2004. Literally the 3rd lowest seeded team in the semifinals. And we're about to get into that matchup.
They're going to give him a heck of a match too.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yep.
crazy.
They look good.
Yep.
I was watching the finals yesterday. Watched a few of them. So
Man.
yeah. I'm a little
Yeah.
crap. I had to work on my recency bias according to Joe Dubuque.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was yelling at you guys the last show when I listened to it.
What were y'all mad about? Because I feel like there was no I think Travis Lee would beat Seth. Sorry, Seth. What other ones were really bad?
You lost that one.
No, I lost that one. But like even Sam said that it was pretty bad on the recency bias.
I don't know. I need to look it up.
Whatever. I think Sam was just agreeing with other people.
Typical Sam.
What do you think about starting at 125? I think that
Yeah.
I don't know. Earl, did you have like a target to start at?
Well, that works because I got some new information about your top three or your first three guys if we're going 125.
Interesting.
That sounds good to me. I think 65 through 97 is probably just crazy matchups. So that's a good one to start at. Just go from the top, 125. So 2013 versus 2004. Earl, I believe you have both of them. But which one do you want to give Jack to go through?
I'll give Jack 2013.
There you go, Jack. Tell us who's in 2013.
Man, I'm not ready for this. Okay. Jesse Delgado, Logan Stieber, Kendrick Maple, Jordan Oliver, Derek St. John, Kyle Dake, Chris Perry, Ed Ruth, Quentin Wright, and Tony Nelson. Let's round it off.
All right. Earl, 2004.
Yeah, since I'm such a great coach and have two teams in the semifinals, I'll go with 2004. Got Jason Powell, Nebraska, Zach Roberson, Iowa State, Cliff Moore, Iowa, Jesse Jansen of Harvard, Matt Gentry of Stanford, Troy Letters, Lehigh, Chris Pendleton, Oklahoma State, Greg Jones, West Virginia, Damian Hahn of Minnesota, and Tommy Rollins of Ohio State at heavyweight.
Awesome. Man, actually thinking about it now, Jack, I mean, since you're going to have to leave early, where do you want to start? I don't want to have to, leave you with the matches you least want to talk about.
Let's start with 25. I'm fine with that. Let's start with my expertise.
All right.
But I need to figure out what year these guys are.
You're good. I'm sure Earl can help you out since he's such a great coach and is so good at this. He probably knows all of it. So 2013, Jesse Delgado. Earl, which title was this for Jesse Delgado?
This is title number 1, his sophomore year.
Wow.
All right. Jack, do you got or actually let's start on the other side. Earl, tell us about Jason Powell.
All right, Jason Powell. He was a senior from Nebraska this year, went 26-2, 3-time All-American. He beats Rob Redman from Drexel in the quarters, Sam Hayeswinkle 6-3 in the semis, and Kyle Otts 17-2 Tech Fall in the finals. So digging in a little bit more on Jason, he won Vegas this year. That was his big tournament. He beat Mark Mose of Michigan 4-2 in the finals. He lost to Sam Hayeswinkle at the Big 12 championships. It was a little weird. He still got the 1 seed after that. He beat Hayeswinkle in the duel that year. He lost to a guy named Bryce Lanhart of Wyoming in a duel who did not qualify for nationals this year and did not qualify until 2006. So that was his only other loss. And this weight class was a little weird because your number 2 seed was Luke Eustace from Iowa, who was a past runner-up who didn't place this year. And then Tom Klum, your Big Ten champion, was the 4 seed, and he didn't place either.
Oh, wow.
So that's a little bit more on Jason Powell.
All right, Jack, are you ready? Let's put that
Yeah.
UVA education to use.
All right. So Jesse Delgado's run this year, he went through freshman Nathan Kreiser, beat him 10-7 in the quarters. Then he beat Nashon 10-5 in the semis, and then beat Nico Megaludis in the finals of a score of 7-4. He was the 2 seed this year. Alan Waters was the 1. McDonough was the 3. This was the year that McDonough did not place. And then we got Jared Garnett, pretty tough weight class. This was when Delgado kind of took off as the dominant force at 125, or I mean, kind of dominant. He didn't seem to lose, but he won the close ones.
So I think we got to mention too, before talking about it more, whoever does these brackets, man, we got to find out who does these brackets and like get them to slow down, like stop drinking energy drinks before or whatever. Because I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the brackets for 2013, we have
it's bad. 2013 is bad.
We have Nietzsche Megaludis and we have Mike McDonough, whoever the hell Mike McDonough is.
And Nahshon Garrett is Jared Garnett in 2 of them. So you got to be careful when you're reading through this. They're like switching. So
we have a match on here that is Jared Garnett versus Mike McDonough, which is technically Nahshon Garrett versus Matt McDonough. Wow. All right. Well, this matchup. I mean, what are you guys seeing in this matchup? For me personally, I'm a big Jesse Delgado fan. I think that the scrambles are amazing. The dude just always seems to get out of the best shot. I mean, the leg pass situations. That was just a guy that kind of like was just so scrambly and hard to score on, and always came out on top on all these crazy situations. But I mean, looking at it, Delgado had a win over Nahshon and Nico in the national tournament, which is obviously 2 huge wins. But dude, Jason Powell beat Sam Hazewinkle in the semifinals, and then Tech falls Kyle Lott in the finals. That Tech fall in the finals is something, man. I think I'm leaning Jason Powell, so I'm going to take Jason Powell in a decision here. And I might be wrong, but I'll kick to somebody else and we'll get going. Tony, what you got?
Well, these are the kind of matchups that make this both fun and frustrating, because it's hard to find a lot of video on Jason Powell. Trying to do some homework on this. I'm a big Delgado fan. He grew up around, out this way. And so my gut was going Delgado on a decision, but it's just frustrating because trying to, in my mind, see these 2 wrestlers, it's like they both kind of had to take a tough path. I mean, Delgado, as you guys just mentioned, had a really tough weight class that he got through. And I think that he has a unique enough style that I'm going Delgado in decision over Powell.
All right. 1-1. Who should I leave last?
Leave me last.
All right. Easy. Earl, what you got?
Yeah, I think the style would be pretty intriguing, just because I don't know if there are too many guys like Jesse Delgado wrestling at the time of Jason Powell. So I feel like that could shut down Powell, or that I don't know, frustrate him or whatever. But I think in a one-off, I'd have to pick Jesse Delgado. But there's good points for either guy.
Yeah. So you got Jesse Delgado and Jack. What do you got?
Well, I'm assuming the poll says Delgado, so I'm not feeling too pressured here. I don't know. Just a guy like Delgado he had such good defense in terms of, it was hard to get to his leg in the first place, and then once you got to his leg, it got way harder.
Yeah.
And not only would it get harder, it'd be dangerous too, because Delgado could score from there. Yeah. Jason Powell, very great on top. Beat Hazewinkle, has really good wins. He also has a tech fall over another Illinois guy, which makes me think that, maybe he just has their number. But I'm gonna go with Delgado and the just the way it's impossible to score on him, because if you can't score, you can't win.
Dude, there's been 2 tech falls in the finals in the past 20 years?
Mitch
David
Clark.
Taylor, Mitch Clark was in 90 something, wasn't
Okay,
it?
well, Derek
Derek
Moore.
Moore. Yeah.
Derek Moore,
Moore.
three tech falls in the finals in the last 20 years. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Well, this is sort of where we need, we talk about Kyle Ott then, because it's like, what's his pedigree and stuff. You can go down rabbit holes with this. But yeah, and we don't have any video on that match, do we?
I do on the finals. Ott got the first takedown, and then I think it was a reversal and all downhill from there. Ott was kind of like a Zach Sanders body type, where if there was the old 118, he probably would have been the guy there. So maybe slightly undersized, but extremely fast, good on his feet.
Isn't it weird how no one's undersized anymore? There's no 125s that are undersized. Everyone's way too big. Like, I think everyone would be okay if it bumped up to 130.
I don't know about that. What about dude from Ohio State, Heinzelman?
Like, he's getting bigger every year, though. The only person that I can think of that is undersized for real is Kurt McHenry.
Yeah.
Like,
He hasn't
he's
been
so
wrestling,
undersized that he can't even wrestle.
Yeah. But, all right. I was outvoted. Jesse Delgado takes this win in this first matchup, and we'll keep moving. 133 pounds, Logan Stieber of Ohio State versus Zach Roberson of Iowa State. Earl, do you want to kick us off with Zach Roberson?
Sure. Zach Roberson was a senior here. He was the 5 seed, went 31-3 this year, 3-time All-American, going 1st, 4th, and 7th. At the tournament, he beats Foley Dowd from Michigan in the quarters, 3-1. Defending champion Travis Lee from Cornell, 6-3 in the semis. And then he beats Josh Moore 5-4 in the finals. Doing a little more digging on Zach, he was pinned by Johnny Thompson, 2-time defending champion in the Big 12 finals. He also lost to Thompson in the dual meet. I could not find his third loss that year. He was also the champion of champions at the Midlands that year. I believe Trent was the OW as a freshman, Jack. At the Midlands, he beats Mark Jane from Illinois, who is 7th in the country in the finals. He beats his eventual finals opponent, Josh Moore from Penn State, in the finals. And he beats another All-American, Matt Sanchez from Bakersfield. So pretty solid year. I don't know about Logan Stieber, but pretty darn good year.
Yeah,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Jack.
Okay, so Stieber's NCAAs was a pin in the first period over the Duke guy, a pin in the first period over Shelton Mack, a tech fall over Cody Brewer in the quarters, a tech fall over AJ Shop in the semis, and then a 7-4 victory over Tony Ramos in the finals. That's unreal. That is unreal. I mean, holy smokes. I didn't know it was that good. He freaking tech Cody Brewer and teched AJ Shop.
For real.
I mean, my vote's Stieber. I know is this the year that Roberson beat Travis Lee in the semis?
Yeah.
I'm big on Travis Lee. And I know that Roberson did this thing where he would go collar and shuck it by. And he was like one of the first people to do it. And he got everyone with it. It was like his bread and butter. It was so fun. When Trent and Travis got there, that was the first thing Travis taught me. He was like, oh, you do like your pass by? Here, work on this, work on this, work on this. And sure enough, it would open up stuff to the other side. And I would go Roberson, shuck to high C on the other side because I'm a lefty and it would work. But he had this weird style. But Stieber, I've just heard things that he was just so unheard of strong. Wasn't like a 33 pounder, felt like a 74 pounder sort of thing. And it clearly showed because he was so good on top, so good on his feet. Everywhere.
I think they're going to game plan this match. He's not going to fall into that left side shock too much. He takes those low, what look like kind of crappy singles and then makes money off of them. He's always done that, so I think he's kind of stays out of Roberson's, left side shuck. And then once he gets on top, he was just dominant on everybody.
Plus, what does Stieber do when you collar tie him? He shucks. He does
Yeah.
his own pass by.
Yeah.
And he's dominant with it.
Yep.
I'm going Stieber by major, just the top game and then the feet game, and especially just what he did in this NCAA tournament. Roberson's had a few losses in that year, and he put together a very good tournament, but he hasn't wrestled anyone like this Stieber for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's got to be Stieber. I mean, that run, yeah, Tech fall over a national champ in the quarterfinals, Tech fall over Shop. And then, Ramos, obviously that was the match where we even talked with Tony when he was on the show, where he locked up that cradle, and it was kind of controversial where he maybe should have got some back points. But I liked his response, and even saying like he didn't complain about it or anything. He was just like, yeah, man, I could have held him there. I could have done more. Could have held him there longer. I could have done this. And I really admire somebody that just, that puts it on themselves. It doesn't say, oh, yeah, it was an awful call. I should have got it.
No doubt.
Yeah,
for sure.
The one listening to that show, the one thing you talked about Ramos's stare down, right? And the thing that struck me was that they'd had zero intimidation factor on Stieber. If you go back and watch or look at even the photos, he almost is smirking. He's chewing his mouth guard like he does, but Ramos is sitting there in that stare down position that he took, right, and trying to intimidate Stieber, and Stieber's just got this smile on his face like, I'm gonna beat you and you're not intimidating me. It's pretty funny to watch and see like Stieber was not intimidated by Ramos in that stare down.
Yeah.
I loved the picture of them from the Big 12 or Big 10 finals that year where Ramos is being restrained, it looks like he's going to punch him in the face. And Logan just has his hand out, really nonchalant, like kind of unfazed, like Tony said.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. But Jack and I both got Logan. I think I'm okay with the major. And again, it's nothing against Robertson. It's just the level of Stieber. Tony, what you got?
I got Stieber. I'm not going to go major. I think bonus points in the finals of the NCAAs are hard to come by. So I'm just going to go regular decision, Stieber.
All right. Earl?
I'm definitely going Stieber, but I'll go with bonus points.
Wow.
I know it is rare, but I'll go with him. He's a special guy.
All right. You as well are a special guy, Earl.
Well, thank you.
Don't put yourself down.
I got to get off. Do you want my votes or not?
Yeah, here. Would you rather say them, or you want to text it to us and we'll say them as we go?
I'll say them. All
right.
And then I can put it in the chat after.
Here, I'll put a little mark next to all of them.
Okay, I'm going to go Maple, Jansen, Gentry, Dake. Pendleton.
Why are you laughing?
Because I know you thought that I was gonna go. Actually, yeah, Pendleton, Greg Jones, Quentin Wright, and Tony Nelson.
All right. Well, unfortunately, Jack has to leave us and just drop his picks on us like that crap.
I'll explain my Tony Nelson pick real quick. I was gonna go Tommy Rollins, and Mitch McKee's up here, and he's real big on Tony Nelson. He told me a bunch of stuff about him, so I think I'm gonna go Tony Nelson. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks for joining us, and go train your butt off and get ready for this match, man.
Yes, sir. Sounds good.
Man.
All right.
I'm
See you
excited
guys.
for it.
See you, bud.
See you, man. All right. Well, Jack jumped off, and I have actually been talking to our man Sam Herring in the background. Sam's about to jump on and replace him. So we're still gonna have 4 people. But if any votes get crazy on us, we'll have to text somebody else. But we'll see. Or actually, we have the Twitter vote. We're good. But let's keep going, man. We got so far we've got Jesse Delgado and Logan Stieber picking up wins. And so it should be 7-0. And if we keep moving on, the next weight class is 141 pounds, where we are going to see Kendrick Maple of Oklahoma versus Cliff Moore of Iowa. So we'll go ahead and let Earl start with Cliff Moore. And I guess I'll pick up slack on 2013. So Earl, start us off, Cliff Moore.
All right, Cliff Moore was your 5 seed this year, went 31-2, a 3-time All-American, going first 6-6. He beats Jason Mester in the quarterfinals 6-4. He beats Scott Moore in the semis 14-2. Moore was the top seed. And then in the finals, he beats Matt Murray 5-2. Murray was the 7th seed. A little bit more about Moore. Like that, Jacob? More about Moore? Yeah.
More.
I
want more.
His 2 losses, first was to Nate Gallick in the dual meet. Gallick ended up being the 2 seed, finishing 5th. And then he lost in the Midlands semis to Jason Mester from Central Michigan, 3-2, who ended up being the 4th seed and finishing 4th at Nationals. And he won his Big Ten title by beating a guy named Doug Withstandley from Purdue, who ended up going 0-2 at Nationals and was unseeded.
All right. Well, on the other side, for Kendrick Maple, he wrestled for Oklahoma, and in 2013, I believe this was his junior season. I'm having to double check that real quick, but junior season, Kendrick Maple wins the national title. He actually came from the number 2 seed. The number 1 seed in this tournament was Hunter Stieber. Hunter Stieber makes it all the way to the semifinals before getting edged out by Mitchell Port on the other side. And Kendrick Maple makes the finals and takes out Port 4-3 in a really close match. Earl have to help me out a little bit on this one. But I mean, I remember this season being pretty dominant for Kendrick Maple. I'm seeing now he's 31-0, first in the Big 12, and he had, 4 tech falls, 7 pins. So pretty stout year there, and wins the national title. But he was a 3-time All-American, and he's now coaching over at Missouri. So what do we got for this matchup? What are you guys seeing here? Tony, what do you think about these two?
I love what Tony said. I want you to repeat what you said on Twitter about these guys.
What did I say? Remind me. I say
compared to 2 different cars.
Oh yeah. Well, what was it? A Lamborghini to a what did I say?
I think a Bronco or something like that.
Yeah, Ford Bronco. So, I think that was just on a text to you guys.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
This is a match that I really was torn about. So I wanted to go and I looked at video, and I think the most prominent video with Cliff Moore is his defeat of Scott Moore. And I mentioned this last show. He's this traditional Iowa. He looks like an Iowa guy. He wrestles like an Iowa guy, which is just in your face, straight ahead. I think that this version of Kendrick Maple this year in particular, he's super long and he uses his reach advantage really, really well. And I just think that the matchup isn't good for Cliff Moore on this one. I think, he would take just kind of not great shots, but he'd just kind of bulldog his way through them. It seems like. And I think that Maple, this version of Maple, he was so on this tournament and pretty much the whole year. He uses his length really, really well. And I don't think it's a high scoring match. In fact, you can't compare Mitch Port to Cliff Moore really, but I think it's like a 4-3, maybe 5-3 type of scoring match in Kendrick Maple's favor. I just don't think it's a great matchup for Cliff Moore.
Yeah. Earl, what do you got?
It's funny how you mentioned Mitch Port, because he was coached by Moore at Edinburgh, and now they're on the same staff at West Virginia.
Oh man.
So
That's
I guess
great.
I don't know how
Funny.
that works out, but yeah, I agree with what Tony said, and I think for a lot of us, the prevailing wisdom as we've been doing this is the guy with more offense. Generally is the guy we're picking, and I think Maple probably has more ways to score. Definitely better offensive on his feet, so I could see him getting 2 takedowns here and maybe a 5-3 match, something like that. So going with Maple.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love my Iowa guys, but just watching tape on both guys, it's got to be Kendrick Maple for me as well. Like you said, I think he's just a little too much on the feet and gets it done when he needs to get it done. So I got Kendrick Maple with a decision as well, and so did Jack. So we are going to go 4-0 for Kendrick Maple, and we're all with a decision. So it's going to bump our score up to 10-0 for the 2013 team. And we might have one of our seeds hold for the finals, possibly 10, not 13. But the next matchup, 149 pounds, Jordan Oliver versus Jesse Jansen. Earl, do you want to kick us off with Jesse Jansen?
All right, Jesse Jansen was a senior also this year. He was the top seed, went 38-1, 3-time All-American, finishing first, third, 3-time EIWA champion. He beats a guy named David Dees in the quarters, 10-5, Ryan Chirella in the semis, 11-4, and then Zach Esposito, 9-3 in the finals. And I was just digging around trying to find that one loss for Jansen, and it actually came in Vegas up at 157, and he got majored by Alex Tirapelli. So I couldn't find enough information to figure out whether he was going 57, then drops down, or if he was at that tournament as a one-off. I don't know what the deal was, but that's where his one loss came from. So it wasn't anybody at that weight.
Yeah. And then on the other end, we've got Jordan Oliver. I believe this is senior Jordan Oliver. Am I correct, Earl?
Yep.
Senior Jordan Oliver. This year he was the number 1 seed. Actually, he takes out David Habit in the first round. So that's a kind of big first round matchup between 2-timer and an NCAA finalist. But from there on, takes out Derek Valenti, Jake Soufflon, Steve Santos, and then Jason Chamberlain in the finals, 3-2. I just remember that Jo was just on a mission this year. He won a national title as a sophomore. He had that really controversial loss to Stieber in his junior season. And then this year just came back and blew the doors off the thing. And, if you didn't have a guy like Kyle Dake winning his 4th national title, then I don't remember if Oliver was undefeated or not. But I believe he was, right, Earl?
Yep, that's correct.
And I think he definitely could have been in that Hodge Trophy conversation this year if it wasn't for Dake making history. So very, very historic year for Jordan Oliver as well. So, let's just roll right into our picks with this one. And Tony, what do you think between these two dudes?
Well, I this is another real close one. My gut went Jansen on this. I rewatched the Oliver match against Chamberlain. He wins in the last 13 seconds with a slide by. It wasn't a dominant match. It was a good match. But I love Jordan, and he's somebody I've been photographing since he was a freshman in high school. He finds a way to win. He really does. But I think in this one, this version of Jesse Jansen, I've got Jansen on a squeaker, man, probably overtime kind of thing.
Yeah, man, you guys are wild. It's Jo all day, man. Gotta go Jo. Second national title, just absolutely running through folks this year. Like you said, he did kind of win at the last minute in the finals, but Jason Chamberlain is absolutely no pushover. And so, he did end up getting it done. And again, this is another situation where there's not. I've seen millions, not millions. I've seen hundreds of Jason Oliver or Jordan Oliver matches, but Jesse Jansen for me is definitely on a lower end of the matches I was able to watch. So maybe it's a little recency bias, but I'm sticking with Jo, especially in what I feel like was probably his most dominant year in college. Earl, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, initially, I think my first instinct was to say Jo, but looking at it more, Jansen was the outstanding wrestler of this NCAA tournament. He beats a guy in Zach Esposito, who goes on the following year to win a title. He was probably not as diverse as Oliver on his feet in his attacks, but he was still, very good. And they're just as good on the mat, I'd say. Maybe even Jansen has the edge. So I'm going to go with Jesse Jansen.
Jesus, how is Jack still getting me and he's not even on the show? He's still thorn in my side right now. Well, I guess I lose and Jo loses. That's some crap right there. But yeah, Jesse Jansen with the win against my better judgment. And 2004 picks up their first win of the duel. So it is going to be 10-3. And we're getting back into a match here. They're actually putting points up on the board, and we'll see how many more they get through these last 6 matches. So heading on to 157 pounds, we're going to have Derek St. John versus Matt Gentry. I'll give Earl a break going first, and I'll go Derek St. John first. Derek St. John was a 4-time All-American. At this point in his career, this is junior season. He won the national title over Jason Welch, 3-2 in the finals. He was a 2-time finalist. His sophomore season, he made the finals, wrestling one Kyle Dake. And it was a very close match. I can't remember the score. I want to say it was like a 7-4, 6-4, 5-3. So it was like a 2 to 3 point match. But it was very close. And I remember, Dake kind of got poked in the eye in the third period and just kind of tried to stay his distance and stay away for the last little bit to make sure he didn't give up any points. And the Iowa crowd was going crazy, but that was, I'm sorry, you're going for your 3rd consecutive national title and you get poked in the eye and you're up with like 30 seconds left. Like, what is everybody in the world going to do? Like, probably try to stay away from the dude trying to take you down when you can't see. But Derek St. John, 2-time finalist. And this season, he actually beat Alex Derringer in the semifinals. So beats Derringer in tiebreakers and then beats Jason Welch 3-2. So Derek St. John. On the other end, Matt Gentry, Earl.
All right, so this is junior year Matt Gentry. Him along with Greg Jones. They were the only 2 undefeated guys this year. He was 42-0. This was the only year he was an All-American. His Pac-10 champion beats Philip Simpson in the quarters 8-2, and Ryan Bertine, the defending NCAA champion, 6-4 in sudden victory in the semis. Then Jake Percival 4-2 in the finals. He would go on to make the 2008 and 2012 Olympic team for Canada.
All right. And we have Mr. Sam Herring joining us. I don't know if he can hear us yet or not.
I can hear you guys. Good morning.
Awesome. Sam, the man, thanks for joining us, man. Jack had to jump off. We definitely needed somebody on here to help me out and bring some youth to this panel.
Yeah, I'm gonna struggle a little bit with the 2014. Y'all know that, but I'll hang on with my best.
2004, you mean?
Yeah, did I say 14?
You did.
Okay.
I just called you guys
2014. Got it.
Just called you guys old, and you said nothing about it. So
yeah, I'd let that one slide.
I made a mental note because that was the second show in a row you referred to my age. So
I wanted to make sure you guys heard that. I didn't know if like the hearing aid wasn't in or what was going on. But all right. So I don't know how much Sam heard jumping on, but we're at Derek St. John versus Matt Gentry. Kind of ran through them a little bit. And
yeah, I didn't really get to listen to much. I listened to Delgado Powell a little bit, but other than that, I didn't really get anything.
You're good. We know you don't listen to our show. We know.
You're steaming this morning, Jacob.
I am. Hey, it makes for better radio, right?
Does it?
It does. It's less fun when Jack is not even on here and is still getting at me though. But Matt Gentry is was he the first and I guess only Stanford national champ, unless they get one this year. So
That's correct. Yep.
it sucks. But all right. I don't know. I'm gonna have to let somebody else go first on this one because I think this one's a lot closer than I originally thought. So Earl, what you got on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because as far as careers go, Derek St. John had a great career, 4-time All-American. Definitely more consistent at a high level. Gentry, he had a great senior year, but just ended up missing the podium. Had a couple tough matches at nationals. I don't know. I like the toughness and physicality of Derek St. John, and I think that would be the difference. He would pull out the win here.
All right. Tony, what do you got?
Got Gentry. I'm gonna kind of flip that a little bit. I'm with Jack
Cali
on this
boy.
one. Yeah, there you go. Right there. Represent.
Has he been coaching there?
No, Gentry doesn't coach here, or he doesn't coach at Stanford. I'm not sure where he is right now. He's a great dude, by the way. Really, really nice guy. But I've got Gentry on this. Again, close match. I've heard, I heard the podcast where St. John is just an incredibly hard worker. But I've got Gentry on this one in a close one.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with St. John. I think it's really a close matchup, and I love all the things that McDonough, as Tony's alluding to, McDonough said about him was, in a room of absolute hammers and hard workers and studs, this dude, he said, was the hardest worker in the room. And I think that's really something to be said. And he was one of those guys that got overshadowed by the David Taylors and Cal Dakes of the era, and was kind of an underrated, national champion, 2-time finalist, right? When you think back of that era and that weight range, you don't think Derek St. John, but the dude made 2 national finals, and won one of them. And then his senior year, not performing to his best. I think there might've been an injury in there. But yeah, just a rough and tough, pushing forward, Iowa style guy. And yeah, I will be the first one to admit, everybody knows I'm a big Iowa fan, but St. John definitely was not one of my favorites. I liked him, but wasn't, necessarily a crowd pleaser, but I think that he has enough to get through this match. So I'm going to go St. John, and actually leave it in the hands of Samwise down there.
Jacob, you're gonna be happy with me. I'm going Derek St. John. It's really hard for me to see that guy get toughed out in a match. And the way I would see him lose is a little bit of a Caldwell Metcalf circumstance, where a guy who's super slick, super athletic, and explosive can kind of sneak one out on him. And I don't think Gentry can really do that. I'm gonna go with St. John on this one.
All right, good. Anytime we pick against Jack, it's a good day.
Did Jack have Gentry?
Yeah. See, all the stars on here are Jack's picks before he left. I just threw him on there real quick so we could at least know what he was thinking.
What is the heart? You love Logan Stieber?
Yeah, I do love Logan Stieber. He's my Logie Bear. But yeah, no, it's a major decision. So I put hearts for like 1 heart as a major, 2 as a tech, 3 as a pin.
That's nice of you.
Yes. Yes. But 165 pounds, Kyle Dake versus Troy Letters. Jack giggled about it because he picked against Troy Letters and then leaves us with no explanation. But for Kyle Dake in 2013, this one's pretty easy to talk about. He becomes the only wrestler in the history of college wrestling to win 4 national titles at 4 different weight classes. Some will argue that that's as impressive or more impressive than Cale's undefeated 4 years. I think that's a real conversation to have, which one of those two is more impressive. But Kyle Dake in this year, not only did he win his 4th national title in the 4th different weight class, but he did so by bumping up another weight class to hit David Taylor, right? And so I can't remember what exactly was said in what interview I watched or whatever, but Dake, you would think at this point in Dake's career, he was bumping up just to solidify that 4 different weight classes, kind of cement himself and his legacy. But I think in one of the interviews that I saw, that it wasn't as much about the weight classes as it was about him wanting to wrestle David Taylor. He really wanted to bump up and test himself against, what was possibly seen as the best dude in college wrestling right then. He just won a Hodge Trophy. And so Dake bumps up, takes on David Taylor in the finals and beats him 5-4. I remember that was a really fun, crazy match. David Taylor actually went out to the lead first and got a takedown at the very beginning of the match. And then it was kind of all Dake from the end, or from there on out. So Kyle Dake wins his 4th national title over David Taylor. And on the other end, Troy Letters. Fill us in, Earl.
All right, so I don't want to see a heart next to Kyle Dake's name this time, Jacob. This is sophomore year Troy Letters. He was an NCAA runner-up the year before. As a freshman, went 36-1 this year. He ended up being a 3-time All-American, 3-time EIWA champion. In the quarters, he beats John Clark by fall. In a minute 22, semis Matt King of Edinburgh 4-2. In the finals, he beats Tyrone Lewis 5-2. Avenging his only loss of the year to Lewis.
So, is it Kyle Dake by major? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I can't do it. It's got to be
tech.
Yeah, it's pin. I mean, he's gonna lefty headlock him.
And not only a pin, it's gonna be like a tech pin where you got 15 points and then you pin him.
Yeah, exactly. No, for me, it's got to be Dake. It has to be Dake, right? There's only 2-3 guys. There's only really 2 guys I think that are up there in best of all time status in college wrestling, and I don't think anybody besides those. I don't think anybody beats him. So I'm going to go Kyle Dake. I can't go major decision because obviously the Troy Letters is incredibly good and at a very high level, but it's also combine that with I picked David Taylor to major Troy Letters, and I got shut down by virtually everybody in the universe on that. But Kyle Dake's not he's not the David Taylor style of putting up, an incredible amount of points. He doesn't usually, destroy the top guys, or he didn't in college. So he obviously handled them and beat them, but he wasn't the guy that was out there majoring all the top dudes and pinning and teching all these guys. So I'm going to go Kyle Dake in a decision, maybe a 3-point win or something like that.
Yeah. For me, this one might be the most simple to pick out of all these matches. It's just Kyle Dake wins. Troy Letters is really good, so it's a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same on that.
All right, Earl.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's probably closer than most people would anticipate, but yeah, Kyle Dake gets the win.
All right. So Kyle Dake gets the win by decision here, and that's going to kick our score up to 16-3 for 2013, and we'll keep it moving. So 174 pounds, Chris Perry versus Chris Pendleton. Earl, kick us off with Chris Pendleton first, if you will, sir.
All right, this is junior year Chris Pendleton. He went 33-1. He was third the year before. He was the first seed at Nationals. He's another guy that lost in the conference final, but still was a top seed because he lost to freshman Ben Askren there. In the quarters at this tournament, he beats Pete Friedel 14-3. Ryan Lang from Purdue, he pins in the semis and then beats Askren 11-4 in the finals.
All right. And on the other end, Chris Perry. This is Chris Perry's junior season. This is his first of 2 national titles. And this year he came in as the 1 seed. And Chris was kind of one of those dudes. I can't speak for senior year because I'm looking at all of his junior year stats right now. I know he's a different animal as a senior. But at least in the junior year, he was a guy that was kind of at the top of the pack, right? We had like a pack of like 4 or 5 guys that were all really good. And Chris was kind of just like a hair above them, right? You kind of expected him to be the 1 seed and win it, but it was a very close grouping of guys. And he always kind of pulled out really close wins, right? So through his national tournament this year, he won his first match 5-4 and then 4-0. And then tiebreakers against Nick Heflin 3-2, overtime against Kokesh 4-2, and then tiebreakers against Matt Brown in the finals. So, definitely hung really close throughout this whole tournament, but just kind of always seemed to get it done. He was very good. So, Chris Perry as a junior. And what do you guys see in this matchup, Tony?
I like Pendleton in this matchup. I think he had more ways to score. It's an interesting matchup, right? Because it's coach versus athlete. But I think that Pendleton has more ways to score. I think he could catch Perry. Perry had that kind of ride, that the around the head lock on top. They've changed the rules since then, probably because of him, where you can't lock that up as long. But I think Pendleton finds a way to win here. I think the close matches that Perry was wrestling just won't work for him against Pendleton. I've got Pendleton on this one.
Yeah. Sam, what do you got here?
I got Pendleton as well. It's really hard for me to look against him. He is one guy that I've recently, in the last week, started watching a lot more film on. I've been trying to go back and watch some guys, especially the Okie State guys that just they're so slick and they have so many different skill sets from so many different areas. So maybe it's a little bit of bias from watching him so much in this last week, but I'm still going to take him. I think he's probably the better wrestler based off of stats as well.
Yeah, for me, I think it's a mindset clash, and I also think that looking at their competition, it definitely favors Pendleton. I'm going to go Pendleton as well. What I mean by mindset clash is that Perry was kind of the get ahead by a couple of points and win the tight matches, whereas Pendleton was more of a kind of putting it on his opponent. He almost majored Ben Askren in both of his national titles. He won by 5 points in both of them or something. He was right up there, getting into major decision territory. And with that being said as well, Pendleton getting a 5-point or so win over Ben Askren in the finals versus Chris Perry 2-1 in tiebreakers with Matt Brown. I'm definitely going to lean Pendleton's way on this for sure. And is that everybody we got? We got everybody?
I didn't chime in yet, but I have Pendleton as well. If it was 2014 Perry, I think it would be a lot more interesting. But pretty much I'm not going to rehash some of the stuff you guys said, but I'm definitely agreeing with Pendleton. Yeah,
100%. I agree with it might be a closer or a different decision if it was a different Perry. But yeah, I think that's interesting to think about too. And we don't have to get into it too much, but we know Chris Perry in his senior season, the next season, kind of was on a vision quest to beat Andrew Howe because everybody told him that Andrew Howe was way better than him. What do we see if Andrew Howe and Chris Pendleton were wrestling? Who would you pick in that matchup? Because I think that's a big decider of 2014 Chris Perry. What do you guys see in that? It's too tough.
No, I'd probably go Pendleton. I think Hal's best days were at 65. He was still NCAA runner-up at 74, but at 74, I'm taking Chris Pendleton.
I'd lean Pendleton as well. It'd be a tough one, much tougher than this, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Cool. Well, Pendleton takes the win here, and that gets the second one for 2004. And so they're kind of climbing back into it, but we'll see about these last three matchups and how they go. We're sitting at 16-6 for 2013 at the moment, and we're heading into 184 pounds, where Ed Ruth of Penn State is going to take on Greg Jones of West Virginia, for sure. Earl, start us off. Greg Jones.
All right, this is junior year Greg Jones, the second of his three NCAA titles. I said earlier, him and Matt Gentry were the only guys to go undefeated this year. He beats Brian Glenn from Illinois 3-2 in the quarters, Paul Bradley from Iowa 8-3 in the semis, and then Ben Heiser from Northern Illinois 10-5 in the finals.
Yeah, for Ed Ruth, this was his second national title, I believe. Am I correct on that one?
Yep.
Yeah. He ends up winning 3, but this is his second national title. He beats Robert Hamlin in the finals, 12-4. So majors Robert Hamlin in the finals, 12-4. And I think, there's not too much to say about Ed Ruth, man. Everybody knows the stories. Incredible crossface cradle. He had 2 pins in this NCAA tournament. Majored Steve Bozak, a future national champion, in the semifinals. Actually didn't major him. He 4-1 win over him, major of the win before. But yeah, I mean, we all know who Ed Ruth is, man. One of the best to ever do it. But this is junior Ed Ruth. So my first question about this matchup, and I don't know if you were able to get in touch with him or not, Earl, but we did have Greg Jones on the show last show or the show before, and we talked about a lot of matchups, but we didn't get to talk about this one. And I was interested if you were able to get a hold of him. I know he's a busy man, and if he had any thoughts on this matchup.
I failed you, Jacob, but I think after having him on the show, suffice to say, I think he would pick himself. But that's just my guess. For
sure. I mean, he basically picked himself over everybody, which definitely could be the case. He's one of the best to ever do it. And I don't know, Sam, I don't know if you heard that episode or not, but we asked him about. No. We asked Greg. We asked him about. He was around the same time as Kale, right? And so we're like, all right. So we're asking him, did you wrestle this guy? Did you wrestle this guy? He's like, yeah, I beat him. We're like, did you ever wrestle Kale? And he was like, yeah, actually, I did. He's like, I wrestled him in a couple simulated matches or something like that at the OTC when he was preparing for the Olympics and all that kind of stuff. And they wrestled, and he said, he could be a little bit off, but what he remembers, Kale won like 16-12. So it was just an absolute shootout. Yeah.
I did my homework, and I contacted Gary Abbott to see if there's the possibility that video might exist of that. He said no. They weren't really. Even now they don't videotape practices, and so that started a discussion about they should probably wire the Olympic Training Center room with cameras and videotape all those practices.
I don't know how smart that is. I wouldn't want to do that if I was Gary or anybody in the USA Wrestling Administration.
Why is that?
First of all, because there's a bunch of game planning that goes on in that room. And game planning is for private practice rooms. And practices in general are for private unless you want to change that. And it creates a lot, like wrestlers compete a lot different in practice than they do in tournaments. They compete a lot more free. They show what they're working on in live, and they will constantly try to get to like a certain position. And for them to like live stream it or put it on a camera or whatever it may be, video it, it changes a lot in the mindset of wrestlers that could actually hurt USA Wrestling. Like if my practices were videoed and acted like they were actual matches, I don't think I would get as better or much more better. I don't know how to say this, but like I wouldn't get as much better as I do in practice than I do in matches. I guess that's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to say.
I'm not talking about live streaming it, my friend. What I'm
You're talking
saying,
about videoing live matches in the OTC?
what I'm, so I believe, and it's a little bit of guessing here, that university practice rooms are wired up and they can record practice so that the coaches and athletes can go back and watch. This would not be for public consumption. It would be private only. So let me ask you
Okay.
this: if
Yeah, that makes sense.
if you're in a simulated match in a practice room, would you not want to go back and see video of it? Like,
I definitely would. That's
right.
true.
So that's what I'm talking about. And then, 20 years later, having that and publishing that probably wouldn't be, a bad thing. So to this point, like somebody
Yeah.
asked, hey, do
Okay.
we have
Got it.
video of Greg Jones wrestling Kale? Wouldn't that be cool to see? You'd have that, but they don't have that. But I hear you.
I'm all for it.
Okay.
I want to see it so much, but we got to make sure our security is on point because I know those Russians are going to be trying to get over here and
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
and hack in and know what David Taylor and Kyle Dake and Jordan Burroughs are doing. So I'm all for it. I think it'd be awesome, but I guess you got to, like, if you implement something like that, you got to make sure that all security measures are in place. But for this match, I mean, I've been watching a lot of Greg Jones matches on YouTube because he's like, for me personally, he's just a hidden gem. I mean, he's not hidden, right? But we've obviously talked, like, I really got into the sport around 2010, and so he was before my time. And so when I found him on YouTube, I mean, if there's any younger guys watching the show, I know Sam actually asked on FRL, like, who are some of the old guys that we need to watch? I'm sure Sam's probably already watched. But
I've watched almost 0 Greg Jones matches, which is kind of unbelievable.
Go watch it right now. Like, get off the
I
show.
can't right now,
He is awesome. Absolutely awesome. He's a wizard on his feet. Just one of my favorite dudes to watch wrestle of all time, possibly. And I love Ed Ruth as well. And so I just see that I see Greg Jones being a little bit better on the feet. And I see him being able to get more takedowns than Ed Ruth, whether it's a wide open match or it's just a one takedown match. I see Greg Jones kind of winning in the takedown, having an advantage in the takedown realm. And then, obviously Ed is a hammer on top, but I just don't see him being able to do much on top of Greg Jones, who is so long and lanky. And I just don't see him being able to do the same things to Greg. So I'm going to take I'm going to take Greg in a tight one. What do you got, Tony?
I'm going same. Greg in a close, tight match. He doesn't get caught in that crossface cradle, and yeah, I think it's a fascinating match. It'd be really, really fun to watch. But I got
Earl?
Jones.
6 national titles between the two of these guys. Insane. Earl, what you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Greg Jones as well. I think he's just a hair better on his feet, and these guys would probably nullify each other on the mat. So Greg Jones, close match.
Sam.
You guys are gonna be mad at me. I'm taking Ed Ruth. I have too much knowledge of him, and like I know Greg Jones' stats pretty well, but it's hard for me to pick somebody who I haven't watched. And that's my bad that I haven't done my homework on him. But my pick stays the same, Ed Ruth. I just, especially with all these Penn State films coming out that Flo's putting out, man, he was incredible. He was so good when he was in college. And I think I'm missing out something on Greg Jones. I think I would probably pick him if research was done. So sorry about that.
No, dude, don't apologize. You jumped in on the show on, when we were shorthanded, on short time. I just texted you in the middle and was like, hey, you cool getting on. So no worries at all there. But yeah, like I said, you definitely need to go watch some videos on him. I think he's absolute hidden gem for people who haven't seen him that are maybe some of the younger crowd. And I really do think when you go watch a bunch of Greg Jones videos, you'll come back and say, yeah, maybe I'm leaning that way. You might not, but you'll at least see where we're coming from.
Yeah, I think I have 2 on my YouTube channel. I should post some more.
Okay.
He's insane, dude. Insane. But 197 pounds. We're going to have Quentin Wright of Penn State versus Damian Hahn of Minnesota. Earl, kick us off with Damian Hahn.
Damian Hahn was a senior this year. He was 33-1, the top seed, 4-time All-American, going 5-5, 1-1. He was a 3-time Big Ten champion. In the quarters, he beats a guy named Josh Burt 6-2. In the semis, future UFC star Ryan Bader, Arizona State 2-1. And in the finals, he beats Iowa's Ryan Falsis. And then coming out, I'd like to see what was going on if media would be what it was back then, because Damian Hahn was your top recruit coming out of high school in 1999. Still arguably up there with like Kerry Colat as one of the best high schoolers ever. So that is Damian Hahn.
All right. On the other end, Quentin Wright. This is his senior season. He was a 4-time All-American, 2-time national champ, 3-time finalist. Quentin, as we've talked about before on this show, was one of those dudes that turned it on at the NCAA tournament, right? And specifically the NCAA tournament, because this is a guy who's a 3-time finalist, 2-time champ, and didn't do well at all sometimes, right? He was very up and down and a lot of peaks and valleys during the season, and even in the Big Ten championship kind of showed up some and didn't show up others. But in his senior season, he comes into the tournament as the number 2 seed. I believe that's his highest seed in all 4 of his years, because he usually came in as a lower seed. But he beats, on the way to his finals, in the quarterfinals, he beats Scott Schiller by fall. Schiller was a 3-time All-American for Minnesota. He beats Matt Wilps in the semifinals, 4-3 in tiebreakers. Wilps later was a NCAA finalist. Or was it before? I guess before was NCAA finalist.
That was actually different Wilps, his
Different
brother
Wilps.
Tyler.
You're right. Different Wilps. And then in the finals, he beats Dustin Kilgore 8-6. And Dustin Kilgore had not been beaten in like 2 or 3 years or something crazy, because he won a national title and then took an Olympic red shirt and hadn't been beaten in literally like 2 or 3 years. And I remember, going to that match, you have national champ versus national champ, and Quentin was the man, but man, Dustin just kind of had like a aura around him of just untouchable, not being beaten in forever. And Quentin went in and just picked him apart. And that 8-6 score does not tell the tale of that match, because Quentin Wright put the beat down on him pretty significantly. So that's Quentin Wright. And let's get into these picks, man. For me, it's got to be Quentin, man. It's got to be Quentin for me. And I just, when he shows up and he's in these big matches, he just puts it on people. And specifically this senior season, Quentin Wright, like I said, Kilgore was very, very highly touted and a big figure in wrestling at the time. And Quentin just went out and underhooked him to death. And I really love that style. He wrestles with that underhook, high crotch. And so I'm going to go Quentin, and I'll kick it to Earl.
Yeah, so my first instinct looking at this was Damian Hahn, just because of he was probably more consistent throughout his career than Wright. He's definitely a guy that doesn't get talked about as much. However, looking at this particular style matchup, I could see it playing out the same way as Kilgore and Wright. I could see him pressuring Wright, pressuring him. Then there's that underhook throw by to the high C or whatever Wright's going for. So I could see this following the same path, and so I'll give it to Quentin Wright, although it's not my initial instinct.
All right. Tony, what you got?
I'm with Earl. It's funny. That's the consistency of Han. However, I'm going to stick with my gut, and my gut was Han initially. I like his consistency, and I'm going to stick with that. I think that he figures out right. I think they game plan for it, and I've got Han.
All right. And Mr. Sam Herring.
Talk about a clash of styles in this match. Like Quentin Wright's like 6'1", long and lanky. And Damien's Han's like 5'2". I'm exaggerating on both of these probably. Like 5'2", and he's like a wrecking ball.
I was gonna say, I wonder how tall Quentin actually is, because like he's
I'm
got to be
exaggerating
taller
on
than
both of
that,
these.
don't you think?
It's fun. Sam, it's funny you
He's-
should say that, because at CKLV one year, they have these, like, the ropes up to keep people out, but
Mhm.
they're not actually ropes. They're a little taller than that, and I think
Yeah.
they're pipes. And Damien Hahn tried to jump over one once and got completely tangled up in it. And
he really?
yeah, and
That
I
is a
don't
problem I will have.
for the rest
I'm
of your
very
life.
short, and I will not try to jump over stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and we had a laugh, because I do not believe I have a photo of it, and I think I told him, I'm like, yeah, I didn't get that one, but it was pretty funny. It was total
is funny.
cartoon thing where he's straddling both, but it's not really working and stuff. It's pretty humorous. Anyways,
That's hilarious.
so who do you got?
But anyway, I'm taking Quentin on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to unsee what he does at the national tournament year after year. And I feel like what are exactly the rules of what version of themselves are we taking?
Man, we're just talking, these guys in their career up to this point.
Up to
We
this
haven't,
point?
yeah,
So like
we
the
haven't,
best up to this point?
yeah. So like,
Okay, then definitely Quentin.
yeah. I mean, we're not talking about we haven't picked like a location. So I guess if you want to talk about it being an NCAA finals, you want to talk about it being a duel, if it's a back alley scrap.
Can we just say best up to this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
I always envisioned it as the NCAA finals. I don't know. I never envisioned it as a
Well,
duel.
that I will take too, because I feel like that's Quentin's best point.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really put any parameters on that, so we can really think about it however we want. Just main point is these two dudes scrapping, so wherever we want to put it in our own head, I guess. But
Hey, Jacob, have I told you my common opponent story with Damien Hahn?
no.
Okay, so I graduated a year ahead of Damien Hahn in high school, and you have to think about that period of time where there is no flow track YouTube, to be able to see all these matches. So I was a 3-sport athlete, never wrestled in the off season. So I didn't go to Fargo or, match up against any of the big guys nationally, just read about them and, the magazines and stuff. So Damien Hahn was that guy, and, everybody knew he was a stud. So the year after I graduated, a guy I beat ended up winning a Virginia State title. And it just so happened that the Dream Team was coming to Virginia that year. So that guy was selected to be the representative at 189, and his opponent was Damien Hahn. So I saw this as, okay, well, we'll see how I could have done against one of these number one guys in the nation. And Damien Hahn, I think, teched him in the second period, and he's hitting high crotches and picking this dude up over his head. And it looked like me wrestling with my 7-year-old. So I was like, okay, well, that's probably what would have happened to me then.
Yeah. Oh, same thing. I don't remember who the guy was, but my wrestling partner, basically through middle school and high school, like the entire time, our senior year, he was like 55-0 state champ, like just unbelievably good in Georgia. And he got picked for, that Georgia team. And I don't remember what the scenario was, because I didn't really pay attention too much back then. I don't know if it was like the Dream Team duel or whatever, some big duel, right? Where some team came to Georgia. And I remember he got picked for it and got absolutely just destroyed. And it was like, okay, cool. So we're in a small pond down here. But
I've
yeah,
had that experience many a time.
dude, I remember same thing. Georgia's gotten way bigger since I was growing up. But when I was growing up, I wrestled schoolboy duels one time, and I remember we were wrestling. I think it was Missouri. and we're sitting there before the match, and all of us are like warming up, just going at it, like getting a hard sweat in, and look across, and Team Missouri is just sitting on their butts playing like Pokemon and on their like Nintendos, and like just like we're looking at these guys like, man, wow, what are they doing? Like they're not going to warm up or nothing. And then we went on to only win one match in that entire duel and got the absolute crap kicked out of us. It was really embarrassing.
It's happened many times where Tennessee puts together like one of their best lineups or something. We have a really good year, and so we're really high on ourselves. And then I remember one year it happened at Virginia Beach duels, and we had Team Pennsylvania, and it was like PA Gold they were in our pool, and it was a bloodbath. We didn't even win the exhibitions, man. It was bad.
Yeah.
That was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
There's something to be said for the first time you go to one of those national tournaments, realizing what level you're on. You're walking in, you're like, man, I'm good. I'm awesome. I just won so-and-so state tournament. And then you go in there and get like teched in the first period. Like,
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
Yep. I'm afraid I know that too well.
All right. So 285 pounds. We have Tony Nelson of Minnesota versus Tommy Rollins of Ohio State. Jack already gave us his pick, and he picked Tony Nelson.
Am I missing something? Because when I first looked at this match, I thought it was Tommy Rollins, maybe by bonus points.
So Jack kind of explained before he got off that he actually has Mitch McKee staying with him right now, because they're training together. And I guess Mitch is really high on Tony, obviously, because he's been around him, and I guess they had this conversation before, and he was really high on Tony and thought that he'd win the match. So Jack stuck with his boy and went Tony Nelson.
All right. Well, maybe you guys will pick Tommy so I can feel better about wanting to pick bonus for Tommy.
Yeah, but all right, we'll start it off. So Tony Nelson, Earl, help me out. Junior Tony Nelson?
I think it's sophomore Tony Nelson.
Okay,
Nope. Junior Tony Nelson. Yeah, you got that.
All right. So junior Tony Nelson, in his tournament, he is the 2 seed. In the semifinals, he beats Alan Gelagayev 5-4, and then in the finals, he beats Mike McMullen 6-2. And Tony Nelson wins his second national title. He goes on his senior year to make another national finals appearance, but would get upset by a young Nick Wistowski. So Tony Nelson, second national title, and pretty much dominated for a couple of years there in a row. So Earl, what about Tommy Rollins?
All right, Tommy Rollins, this is his senior year. He's a 4-time All-American, went 2-1, 6-1, 2-time Big Ten champion. He beats Bodie Ogunwale of Harvard 8-6 in the quarters. Semis, he beats Leonce Crump of Oklahoma 5-2. And in the finals, he beats Pat Cummings of Penn State 6-2. He leaves as Ohio State's all-time leader in takedowns and was their first 4-time All-American and second multi-time national champion at the time.
Yeah. For me personally, I know that, Jack has Mitch McKee staying over there with him and is talking to him about this matchup, but it's Tommy Rollins all day for me. I don't really think that Tony would win this match. I think Tommy's just too athletic and
the greatest heavyweights of all time in my book.
Yeah. You're saying these two guys?
Tommy is one of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
had a pretty good podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I think back to, trying to get a similar matchup. And, Tony versus Gwiz his senior year, Gwizdowski was very athletic and quick and more of that new style of heavyweights that didn't really wrestle like the big old heavyweights rolling around, more athletic and able to, take leg attacks and all that kind of stuff. And that was Tommy. So I'm going to go with Tommy on this one. I'm not going to go major decision, but I think it's a 3 or 4 point win for Tommy. Earl, what you got?
Yeah, I mean, Tommy, along with like Kerry McCoy and Stephen Neal, they were kind of open the door for these smaller but athletic heavyweights. And, he's just too good on his feet here. He's going to get a takedown or two on Tony Nelson. I don't think Nelson can hang as far as that goes. So, yeah, I'm taking Rollins. I'm not going to go major, but, definitely, I don't know, 5-2, 6-3 win type, something like that for Tommy.
I'm gonna go out and say I think he gets barely a major, like a last second takedown to get the major.
Yeah. And Tony, did you get your picking?
I'm gonna go Rollins, but not on the major.
Yeah. It would be a good one to see though, and we're gonna end this duel on a 19-12 victory for 2013. 2004 did really good on the back half. Kind of
really
stormed
good run.
back a little bit to make it close, but at the end of the day, 2013 was just a little too much. And I definitely, before we started this tournament, saw 2013 as one of those teams that would probably make the final. Like that was probably my favorite team coming through. And so they did pretty well, man. And 2004 had a run though. It was the third lowest seed in the tournament. It ends up in the semifinals,
Can you pull up the bracket?
Yeah. So I'll pull it up real quick right here. Let me get rid of that. All right. So let me take all these
Yeah, that looks funny on there.
these markings off, but here's our bracket, and yeah, it.
So 2018 is gonna take on 2013.
Yep. 2018 versus 2013. I'm gonna have to
Okay,
see.
I have a question for you guys.
I got an answer.
I didn't listen to the first podcast with 2013, 2011. Who did you pick, Burrows or Dake?
I was the only one that picked Dake.
Really? Well, you still would have been if I was on.
I was the only one. Only one.
That's crazy.
Like
I'm with Burrows, but to think that you were the only one to pick Dake is wild because that match is so close.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, it was a great tournament up to this point. Sunday we're gonna have the finals. Hopefully we can find a couple of guys to represent each team. Right, 2013, 2018. Obviously we got Seth for 2018, but if we could find some people to get in there, that'd be cool.
For 2013.
Yeah.
Pull up that team again. I'll brainstorm a little bit. Just right here while we're on.
Yeah, but while we're doing that and while we're kind of getting close to signing off, Sam, what do you think about Jack Mueller versus RBY?
That's gonna be an awesome match. Do you know? I haven't done too much research. Is it freestyle?
Yeah, from my understanding, it's freestyle, and
I think that hurts. I think that hurts Jack in a little bit because I really think he would have. I think he would have hurt him on top.
Really?
I really do. I think Jack would have put the hurting on RBY if he could throw legs in.
Did you see what Jack did to Nick Piccinini?
Yes. I'm just saying, taking away his opportunity for leg riding on top and how good he is and what he did to Sebastian Rivera, I think that will hurt him just a little bit. But I think he's just as capable in freestyle as he is in folk style, if not more.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited to see it though. It's going to be a really good one. And like Earl said earlier, I think there's a lot of good matchups on the card. But like you were saying, Chamizo Dake is kind of be a close score. I think David Taylor is going to beat Pat Downey into the ground. And so I think that this match is probably going to be the most fireworks out of all the matches, most entertaining from a fan standpoint.
I can see Chamizo Dake being just for this,
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's gonna be awesome.
I'm thinking more like points scored though. Like I think Chamizo Dake's is gonna be awesome. It could definitely be fireworks, but I think there's gonna be a lot of scramble positions where nobody gets points.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
possibly.
Whereas I think Jack and RBY, I mean, who knows? In my personal opinion, and I'm not just saying this because Jack's on here with us, I think it's going to either be a high scoring, really fun match, or I think Jack's going to handle him. We'll see.
Yeah. You guys remember last time, the 2 last times that RBY competed in freestyle, he didn't do so hot. He lost to who was the North Carolina redshirt guy?
Jamie Hernandez.
Yeah,
or,
Jamie Hernandez.
yeah.
He lost to Jamie Hernandez and then Hernandez lost to Tag. At 61 last year, and then the year before that, he was in the U23 World Team Trials and got destroyed by Vito twice.
Yeah.
But did Jack and I feel like Jack and RBY wrestled in that tournament. U23s.
I don't think they have.
Because
Jack
was
hasn't
probably at 57, wasn't he?
probably, and Jack hasn't mentioned it. He definitely would have.
Yeah.
So I don't think they have.
He wrestled somebody that I remember. I'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
But anyways, we've been on here for a long time, man. This is a great duel. We're looking forward to our finals matchup, 2018 versus 2013. That's going to go down this Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll be live as always. So
Right on.
we'll can't wait to get into it, and we will see everybody next time. Thanks for joining me, guys.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Dave Stanford Wrestling.